You may have heard her leave rather abruptly, I'm afraid, a few moments ago. I knew it was a mistake for her to come. I told my friend Charles Osgood, editor of the Salem News, this, but he was very persistent and made me feel foolish for my trepidation. As he is the owner of this house and therefore my landlord, I found myself with less and less footing for my argument. My visitor this evening was Ms. Eleanor Hathaway, a woman currently enjoying a considerable amount of fame and popularity. She is a spiritualist, or medium, I'm unsure is the proper terminology. She speaks to ghosts, she claims, and those who have passed on communicate with her. Her conversations with a particular entity known as Providence have found themselves published in newspapers across the country. People have traveled from all over the world to visit Miss Hathaway's Chicago home to speak to a loved one or have their future read. The results are uncanny, it is reported. I have paid scant attention. This glowing review I received from Charles's article announcing her arrival in Salem. Miss Hathaway, bolstered by her success, had embarked upon an ambitious publicity campaign that encompassed the entire eastern seaboard and then London. After a 2-evening event in Boston, she wished to visit the old witch house. She was seeking permission to let Providence reveal to her any of the spirits currently residing here. Judge Corwin's or the victims many believed were examined in these rooms. There is an old saying about sleeping dogs that is very appropriate for this place. I wish that we had heeded that advice. 20 minutes, he said. Just 20 minutes. Harmless. Harmless. I wondered, but found myself entirely unconvinced, though if pressed, I could not actually say why. Perhaps it was the fact that when I first leased these rooms from my antique shop and upstairs apartment, the previous tenant informed me that each Monday I was to leave sweet cakes upon the hearth. Sweet cakes and a bowl of cream, if I wanted to please them. Them. I would know soon enough, she assured me. She gave this advice with a look that made clear the seriousness of the situation, at least in her mind. Her mind, which I took to be a strange and addled thing, and its bizarre advice I dismissed easily enough. Yet with each unidentified sound in the night, with each pawing at my window and lean-to door with the several wild-eyed black feral cats I had seen roaming this property, I wondered at the woman's words, but felt sure I had identified who they were. Despite my reservations, I found myself expecting Miss Hathaway at 6 o'clock p.m., and she arrived at my door precisely then. Older, ruddier, more doughy-cheeked than I had expected. Pleasant enough. We exchanged polite conversation. She sat down. I poured her a cup of spiced tea. She took out her talking board. And we began. To our good fortune, Providence was available and fancied a chat, she informed me. She began by asking the questions I had anticipated she would ask. Was the judge still here, lingering about? The planchette began to glide across the board. No, it said. Are there any victims in this house? A pause. A rather lengthy pause in which the planchette began to quiver, but then, of the trials, no. Providence, is there anything you wish to tell us about this house? Chimney. Ring. Miss Hathaway stood, walked over to the fireplace, reached her arm up inside, holding the lantern aloft. She peered after it. After a few moments, pulled out from amongst the bricks a bottle labeled Binninger's Apple Cordial, 1763. The back of the bottle was covered with soot, but I could see the glint of metal inside. After wiping away most of the grime, we saw a gold ring attached to something dark, cloth, and several common pins which were blackened and bent. then I heard it. Sound I thought I had heard 100 times before, and convinced myself I had not just as many. In the walls and across the floor, scratches, bumps, and then it seemed to be the sound of birds landing, moving about, the hum of air moving through wings, many wings, soft, fleshy bodies moving across the floor, unseen toward us. Only this time there could be no mistake. Miss Hathaway heard it as well, as evidenced by the unmistakable dawning of terror I saw in her eyes. She sat back to her talking board, and I sat close beside her. Something warm brushed against my foot, and then what felt to be tiny claws scraped the back of my hand. I remained frozen. Providence? Are you still here? No! The planchette lunged at the word. Who am I speaking with? Who are you? Her voice trailed to a whisper as in the short air between us we felt the breath of another. Breath that smelled of earth and roses. And then suddenly it appeared. A small child. A small dark child that seemed to be fashioned from smoke, its eyes black and shining. Its skin glowed from beneath its clothing. On its head it wore the skull caps of centuries past. In fact, its entire dress seemed wholly ancient. Many things, it said. I looked at the creature. In parts, its body seemed solid. And in others, nothing more than swirling shadow. And in that shadow, I saw many more like the one before us. It smiled, showing teeth sharp and pointed as daggers that gleamed in the light. We are many things. Miss Hathaway fled from this house stricken with terror, but I have remained here, listening. I can hear them in the walls and in the air. I think perhaps it would be best if you left